Welcome back to Sims Complete. I'm your host, Matt Sims. We are a part of the Believe Sports Network, brought to you by FanDuel. And yes, I paused there for a second because I was about to go swing it to my co-host just out of habit of saying, hey, it's Matt Sims alongside, and Phil's not here right now, as you could see. So we're going to be riding solo today. I really appreciate you tuning in, as usual, for Sims Complete. And recently just kind of been observing, right, and hearing all the chatter, right, about all of the football fans out there, and right, this recent survey, right, that was taken through the NFL, right, through scouts, through general managers that are ranking essentially NFL quarterbacks, right, from 1 to 10. And of course, this started some great debates, some great conversations. And I thought just wanted to weigh in a little bit on that discussion, because one, is the most important position of all of sports. It's the most highly criticized position of all of sports. And there's no doubt there's going to be some people that disagree with the list that's been put together by these general managers. But it also is a sign, I think, too, for just fans in general to understand and appreciate the people who are spending every single day, right, in these football facilities, talking with players, talking with scouts, managers. You can't help but notice some of these themes, right, from just the rankings that we do on our own with Sims Complete with others, and how they differ, right, from how executives, right, how scouts see them. And clearly, too, like, it's all about just like, can you be a force multiplier within that list, right? And I think that's the biggest thing, too, is like when we look at this list from 1 to 10, you just see a lot of guys that no matter what in this situation, whether you label them as system guys or whether you label them whatever, like, they're guys that just seem to make consistently big time plays, big time explosive plays, throw extremely well from the pocket with people around them. And for the majority of the guys on the list, too, there's also a common trait of the ability to extend outside the pocket. Even for some of the guys that may be a little bit longer in the tooth that are on this list, they still have tremendous qualities to them that allow them to get outside the pocket, make great throws on the run, extend plays, play out of structure. And that really is, I think, one of the biggest differences, that we constantly see now as this game is evolving, right? The demands of the position are just getting raised higher and higher. Once it was about being a great decision maker, being tough and being a leader. Now you need to do all those things. Now you have to be a great athlete on top of that. Now you have to be just like fundamentally sound in some sort of department that really does separate you from others in this league. And that just shows you how highly competitive it is. And, as someone who trains and coaches a ton of young athletes, who talks to parents and coaches from across the tri-state area here in the New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, area. The quarterback position just is at an all-time high as far as the competition level for it, the amount of people that are signing up for it, the symbolism of being that position and what it means, the title of it is very attractive to people. What it also does for the individual that is participating in it, the young individual, right, in these cases that we're talking about, that the development that is required, right, of that person to really bloom into the position. And that, of course, involves daddy ball and all those kind of debates as well, too, right? With just, is this kid deserving of the position, or does he have a position because the dad coaches on the team and those kind of things? But, it really is amazing just how this position garners so much respect, how it really just obviously gets a lot of conversations going on and off the field at any level, no matter what level you're playing at. The NFL, of course, but that goes all the way down to youth level and pee-wee football. And it just shows you just like how crazy we are as sports fans in this modern NFL world, with how we look at this position, how we evaluate the position, and then ultimately how we rank it. So let's go into some of the rankings, right? And this was the top 10 NFL quarterbacks as ranked by coaches, executives, and scouts. This is Sims Complete on the Believe Sports Network, brought to you by FanDuel. It's just Matt Sims riding solo here with you today. Phil is taking a break. All right. He just needed a time off, but no, he'll be back with us next time. Just a little scheduling conflict. So that's why Big Phil couldn't join us today. But let's start at number one. Work our way through this list. At number one of the more polarizing, I think, quarterbacks in the NFL at the moment, right? Josh Allen, because it's really simple. It's like people either love him or they hate him, And I think there really is no in between for whatever reason. Josh Allen, I think because of how talented he is, because of how he can physically just take over games, because of his style of kind of always playing on the edge, he seems to be a very easy target for people who really, honestly, I think are just envious and jealous of his talent and they just don't like it. And that's really what it comes down to. I think it just bothers them that he is big, he is strong, he is athletic, he can run the football well, he can run over opposing defenders extremely well. Why did I say it like that? Defenders. But that's why I find him like an interesting character in that way. He's such a good football player. And I think a lot of the hate comes from the fact of people just can never imagine themselves being able to have that capability at the position. People are still have sour grapes that someone from Wyoming, ended up being this guy, right? So it's pretty funny just how aggressive people are with kind of tearing the man down. But I know one thing, right? His ability to really just be the rock of a football team and his ability to help a team overperform expectations and to be competitive and to really have his team in a situation where they have been snaps away from advancing to those next levels and, playing for bigger time games and all that and just missing out. And we all know just like how fine that line is. And for whatever reason, he seems to take the brunt of that, even when we obviously see that there was mistakes made on defense and this and that. And for whatever reason, he seems to be wearing a lot of just the weight of the failures of this organization consistently. But really his ability, is just absolutely tremendous. And that's where I feel like Josh Allen, like generational talent. He really just has the ability to create tremendous plays within structure with his ability to throw the football accurately downfield, his ability to drive the football in tight windows consistently. There's no doubt there's a side of recklessness to him, but that's also what just makes him, I think, just super special is that he plays with absolutely no fear. And the only knock you could really have on Josh Allen is just, man, can he just play a little cleaner football, right, in critical moments, right, and not just have this Superman S on his chest. And it's hard. And the reason why I say that is like when you're asked to be Superman all the time, it's hard to then say no to the S, right, when it doesn't really call for that. And I think that happens more so like in playoff football as well. But just, man, Josh Allen, phenomenal football player, phenomenal talent. And man, I understand totally why GM see this, because he is a force multiplier that has made a Buffalo Bills team that, really doesn't have Super Bowl roster qualities to it these past few years as a starting quarterback, but he's been able to at least keep them in a competitive situation more often than not. And that's because of how talented he is, how good of a player he is, and as his own personal development on and off the field has shown. Patrick Mahomes at number 2, man. This is pretty surprising, right? The fact that like people gave Josh Allen that nod, but I think it really was just the fact that like first time ever in his career, right, with Patrick Mahomes, we saw him kind of stub his toe, right? Of course, the injury, but also just like the offense was sputtering before that. And really the lack of offensive identity that the Kansas City Chiefs have had the past 2 years, I think is the reason why we see Patrick Mahomes currently at 2 after kind of holding the reins at 1 for such a long period of time since becoming the starter there in Kansas City. But like nothing has to be said. Patrick Mahomes really is the best quarterback in this generation right now. And that's just because, hey, we value the ring so much no matter what. Even the debate, too, of the other day of like a Dan Marino versus someone who has Super Bowl rings. It's like, of course, Dan Marino's a better quarterback. He just never really was given the set of circumstances or a team and a situation, right, that really helped him kind of have those opportunities to play in big time games. But for right here, Patrick Mahomes, he's got the rings, he's got the records, he's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. And yes, last year was the first time that he really hit adversity. So really curious to see how they as a organization himself bounce back from injury, bounce back from offensive struggles, and see if they can, really kind of get their own offensive mojo and identity back. So Patrick Mahomes at number 2, Matthew Stafford, number 3. We did a rankings this past offseason on Sirius XM NFL radio with Bob Papa. And, for me, like I was just fighting tooth and nail for Matt Stafford to be the number 1 quarterback, because I really just think that he is right now just playing as good a football as anybody in the NFL. I think he's another guy too that just like really raises the bar with the Los Angeles Rams and their style of play, especially defensively these past 2 years, not being like a great defense, a little bit more of an opportunistic defense. His ability to just make those game-changing like throws, the ability to manage the game simultaneously as well. Of course, the IQ pre-snap and all of that, his ability to adjust in critical moments. And of course, like just his ability to be just that dude, right? When he has the football in his hand late in games. So Matthew Stafford, to me, like arguably could be number one right now in his career. Honestly, I wouldn't be upset if like they put Stafford 1, Allen 2, and Mahomes 3 just going into the season, because I think most recently Stafford has been playing as good as football as anybody in the game of football, especially at the NFL level. Now at number 4 is Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow is like, we all know, right? We all know. I mean, dude's, one of the best there is in the NFL. And I think that's why we're so graced too. Like we could really make that case for about all top 5 quarterbacks right now that we're going to go through, with Lamar Jackson coming up next. But, the question is just like, hey, what does Cincinnati's team look overall? He really hasn't had much of a supporting cast defensively ever since Lou Anarumo and their team in general kind of stopped supporting the growth of that side of the football and really doubling down on offense. It put Lou Anarumo in a tough situation. Then they had to get rid of him to bring in Golden. And now it seems like they're finally putting more resources back into the defense side of the football and really actually establishing a deeper team roster-wise and having a little bit more flexibility as far as just how they attack teams on both sides of the football. So curious to see kind of how they continue to develop. But yeah, no doubt, like the elephant in the room really is just Joe Burrow and his health. Can he stay healthy consistently? And like, it's one of those things like, man, if he just stayed healthy, well, it's like that's a great reminder of that's how violent the NFL is. That's how challenging the NFL is each and every week. And also, too, like you don't want to stifle, if I'm the quarterback coach, right, in there in Cincinnati, I'm not saying, oh, yeah, Joe, get rid of the football. I don't want you to get hurt. You got to let your star player do the things that make him a star. And his ability to shed people, right, to move in the pocket, to create and all of that, it is a separator. So, there's that fine line between, him, Josh Allen, Lamar. How do you make them game managers or in certain situations when you just see so many unbelievable plays up to that moment? So, you really just don't want to hinder that stuff. You're really just trying to polish it. You're trying to help them through experience, right, through their own personal experience, their growth at it. Joe Burrow, one of the best in the business. There's no doubt about it. Now it's all about just, can he stay healthy and can the supporting cast around him and really just the defense and their overall play style, can they not just kind of flounder in critical situations or give up too many easy explosive plays in critical situations, especially on the defense side of the football? But we know when Joe Burrow is healthy, he's going to be successful. He's going to move the football, and they're going to be a pretty dang good offense. So Joe Burrow, number 4. Lamar Jackson, number 5. Hey, listen, MVP of the league twice. The way that he's able to do this stuff and the way that he's able to extend, the way that he has adapted to throughout his career now, becoming a little bit more of like a traditional pocket passer at times, right? Still has the ability to run and extend and make plays with his legs, but you can no doubt see that like Lamar as the passer, especially these last few years, has really just absolutely grown tremendously. And, now for them, with Harbaugh leaving, Minter coming in, the question really will be just like, okay, now what does this new look and energy within that building look like? And ultimately just like, where's Lamar's head at too, with just the changing of the ties within that organization? But we know for sure, dude's a competitor. Dude is absolutely got everything that you want in the toolkit there to be successful. And he has really done a great job of progressing as a quarterback as his athleticism slightly decreases every single year. So Lamar at 5, no complaints on that. At number 6, probably one of the more surprising ones, I think, for most fans, because one, people just love hating on Dallas. That's a common thing. Secondly, right, like everyone loves hating on the Dallas Cowboys and their quarterback, right? So Dak gets a little bit of a double there. And of course, with Dak's struggles in the playoffs too, like someone else on the list, he gets criticized, I think, pretty unfairly. But Dak Prescott, right? If you're watching the film, if you're someone that really is like checking out the all 22 or really paying attention to what you're seeing on Sundays, Dak Prescott is playing as good a football as anybody in the NFL right now as it stands. And, I really feel like you could make the case where, like, if we're really just going off of it, well, last year, Dak Prescott had a better year than Joe Burrow. And I understand that Joe Burrow got hurt and all of that, and we can't control those things. But, like, if we were just going to call a spade, it's like, Dak Prescott was the better quarterback last year than Joe Burrow. Now, hey, injuries took place and all that, but Dak Prescott is playing some great football right now. And I feel like just with their offense, their identity, what they're doing, his confidence, it seemed like last year he really just, man, it seemed like he just went on a mission to absolutely just change his mentality, his body, his approach to the game. And you saw that tremendous growth, right? So now, Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, similar situations. Defenses really couldn't stand up for themselves and make plays and to help keep the team balanced at times. And it was just too much offense, too much pressure on them for them to keep up. So, for Dak Prescott, a ton of talent. Now it's all about just, can they piece it together a little bit more on the defense side with their new defensive coordinator. I'm really excited about that. But just overall, man, playing some really good football, and really happy for Dak, because I know how tough those times were, for him with some of those struggles there that they had in the playoffs. And, that is part of just the experience of being an NFL quarterback and hanging in there and being tough as hell, because you just never know when your moment is going to come. And that's where I think too, Big Phil would have had a great interjection right now, because he's a guy that can speak very clearly to that, with a Joe Burrow, with the Dak Prescott, injuries, toughness, this, that, things that are out of your control. But if you hang in there, continue to compete, continue to grow and develop, you're going to give yourself a tremendous opportunity to ultimately hold out the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the season. So, credit to Dak, credit to Joe Burrow and those guys, right, who have been through some snafus here recently. And you could just see that, like, they are really just getting after and really sharpening up their stuff to be prepared as they continue to progress. And honestly, they're kind of all at that time now in their careers where you would expect them to win more Super Bowls because of their experience. I used to believe that, yeah, that's really honestly what I thought for the Super Bowl going in this year. Sam Darnold versus Drake Maye. And I thought, man, Sam Darnold just being the more experienced quarterback to me really just was a lot. It really was a game changer for me as far as just feeling more comfortable about a quarterback that has just seen it and done it more often, has struggled and come back from that. So that's, something that can't be overlooked, is the experience of being on the job and having those failures as some of the greatest teaching lessons, right, for you to have, right, for that growth to take place after. Justin Herbert at number 7. I mean, he's definitely a huge polarizing character, right, just as like number 1 Josh Allen is. We all know the postseason struggles. There's no doubt about it. We can't avoid that. That's definitely something that he needs to improve upon. But there also is the, man, week in and week out, like, he is absolutely dragging his football team into playoff situations that they really don't belong in. So that is something that I think a lot of people need to kind of be more aware of, right? Is, again, Justin Herbert, all the talent in the world, they hear all the experts on TV, the fans, and they're like, well, he's not clutch. And it's like, he's pretty dang clutch, honestly. The problem is, like, what's clutch, and that's where, like, we don't label regular season games, oh, that was clutch when he threw for 350 and put the team on his back and did everything for him. Clutch is only just in a certain situation when we deem it to be clutch. But, he's a guy that has shown tremendous regular season clutchness, and there's no doubt that he has struggled in the postseason, but also his struggles in the postseason are, I think, a little bit more of a reflection of the team and the offense really aren't as good as he made it seem during the regular season. And they weren't peaking through the playoffs. They were just like, we got there, and we're really happy that we got there. And that's where I think he's unfortunately been exposed tremendously, because they really have played to a higher level of degree and have had a better win-loss record than probably their roster and their scheme really matches. And I think a lot of that is just the fact that, like, he's just that good, and he's just that talented to make those special wow plays so consistently, and to play through injury the way that he has. that's something, again, I don't think he gets enough credit for. So Justin Herbert at number 7, I know, very polarizing, but the truth is that like he is worthy of being a top 10 quarterback, and his postseason success or failures really shouldn't reflect the fact that he really is that guy that can be a game changer every single week for the Chargers. And doesn't matter what the coaching staff is, he's been helping that coaching staff play and advance a little bit faster, right? No matter what the situation is surrounding him. The next guy on the list is Drake Maye. Drake Maye, phenomenal second year in the NFL. And really, it just comes down to one thing. And it really does for most of these guys: coaching. He got better coaching. And as soon as he got better coaching, he got better opportunities. For me, I still think that we were like a little quick to just jump on the Drake Maye train as like an overall like thought last year. I thought everyone, like with the whole MVP talk, was absolutely just like out of their minds. And I think it was more so just like everyone wants a darling in the NFL, and he kind of fits the mold of being like one of those darlings in the NFL, because it's funny, like no one wants to support Josh Allen, even though he's kind of earned it the hard way through every phase of it. Drake Maye has always been like the favorite, the crowd favorite, and it continues to be that way in the NFL too. So I find that interesting, but either way, he's done a great job of progressing at the position. You could see that like just through his progress last year, he's really only scratching the surface of his talent, and he's just going to continue to get better. He's going to continue to get sharper offensively. There continue to be a well-coached football team, especially on the offensive side of the ball. You saw that from him, his athleticism, his toughness. And as he continues to get more experience on the job throwing and all that, that's going to continue to improve too. The question is really like a lot of people, they had such an easy schedule last year. All right, well, they got a great opportunity this year to kind of prove some people wrong. But either way, you're in the NFL, easiest schedule, hardest schedule. They're all challenging, no matter what you label it as, no matter what the ranking is. And now it's all about, just for Drake Maye, build consistency and know that this is going to be a new adventure that you're going on. So all the things that you did in the past, hey, they may have worked. That was great personal experience for you. And now he's going to realize, too, that, hey, the identity of our offense and our team through Josh McDaniels and what we're doing, that's going to change this year as it does for every offense, for every team. And I'm excited to see his growth again right through that experience. I think that's pretty special. Jared Goff at number 9. I would have flipped Goff and Maye. Honestly, in this situation, I would have flipped probably Goff in front of Justin Herbert, then had Justin Herbert, then Drake Maye in this situation. I think Jared Goff, again, like he's someone that like I think at first, like I was a little bit too critical of as well. But I think just, hey, this is a guy that's competed in the Super Bowl, right? Has done extremely well, right? Is a very talented quarterback. Has done a great job too of just adjusting and adapting and getting better through the situations, right? As far as like what they're doing offensively as a football team. And I think Jared Goff really has just a tremendous job of just really reestablishing himself as, one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL through the Detroit Lions. And Coach Campbell has done a tremendous job, right, with Ben Johnson, right, helping him do that. And I think Jared Goff has done a great job since Ben Johnson's absence now and going to Chicago, kind of continuing that momentum for him. So Jared Goff, I would flip him and put him at 7 and then have Justin Herbert at 8, Drake Maye at 9. And honestly, I probably would have Drake Maye at 10, and I would put Caleb Williams at 9. So that's the main adjustment that I would make. Caleb Williams at number 10, man. But in my list, number 9 is just, he is so impressive, right? He's so impressive. His talent, his ability. Ben Johnson, honestly, I don't think really had that solid of a year, play calling and all that stuff like we expected from Detroit. And of course, it took some time too for Caleb to get used to that style of ball, being a professional in that sense, right? And being super consistent. But as it continued to develop, right, it really is impressive just like how well, once he hit his stride, how much everything changed. So I think that's one of the coolest things about Caleb Williams is that like he is not even close to scratching the surface of his talent at the NFL level. He really is just 1 year into being like schooled as a traditional quarterback, and he's only going to continue to get better and play faster and just be a little bit more of a dominant presence on that offense side of the football as he continues to gain confidence. So That's the list that we have, 1 through 10. Some slight adjustments by me. I would like to see Matt Stafford a little bit higher on that list. I'd like to see Jared Goff at 7, then have Justin Herbert at 8, then have Caleb Williams at 9, and then have Drake Maye at 10. That's how I would do it. But other than that, there's a pretty strong list. I really don't think there's much debate. Honestly, they are most likely the top 10 best quarterbacks in the NFL. It really just depends on where within the top 10 these guys fall. But overall, I think the GMs, the execs, and all of them, they got this list pretty good. So hope I did okay riding solo on the show today. This is Sims Complete Podcast on the Believe Sports Network, brought to you by FanDuel. I'm Matt Sims. Phil Sims wasn't here today. We'll see you next time. Hope you like the show. See you guys.